Hello and welcome back to the Peterson Homestead. It's just before, the day before New Year's Eve in 2016, and we're doing some work here in the mudroom. And I thought it would be an interesting topic to discuss, which is touching up cut-ins with different sheens of paint. I've done a lot of painting here in the last 6 months at the house, and I've learned a lot in the process. And one of the things that I have learned that is probably the most difficult thing is trying to touch up flat paint. I was lent a paint sprayer by a good friend, so I was able to spray all the ceilings in our house. We have an ultra flat white paint. It's a Sherwin-Williams product, which I've been very happy with. But the problem that I found was that the flat paint shows differences in application. So for instance, if you were to brush an area and then roll an area, the two would sheen and reflect light differently, so you could always see where you touched it up. And so it took me a while and some experimentation to figure out how I could touch up my ceiling paint if it got bumped or something like that. Or for instance, like today, we're going to address some areas where when I cut the walls, the mudroom here was the first room that I painted in the whole house, so my painting technique wasn't as solid at that time as it was toward the end. So I've got some overpaint onto the ceiling. So if you look up carefully, you'll see, I'm going to point here, you can see some areas where there's just a little different shading, and that's because I've already overpainted that with a flat white primer. All these little areas that part of what we're going to discuss here is sort of the order of operations that seems to really work very well for this. You'll notice when I put the primer on, I'm not being very finicky. I overpaint onto the wall, because what I'm going to end up doing is touching up the flat paint on the ceiling and overpainting onto the wall again. And then the last thing that I'll cut in will be the wall paint with the color. I've had really good success with that, and it seems to work really well. So if you're a person who's had an issue and you're not happy with how you did your cut-ins or something like that, fear not, you can go back and touch it up and you won't see the difference. But the secret that I found with the ceiling paint, if you have a sprayed ceiling and you need to touch it up, is that if you roll it out after you've applied it with like a 3/8 inch nap roller, the stippling of the rollered finish blends in seamlessly into the sprayed finish. So I'm going to start in this corner, and this corner is kind of a funny deal. We had a little issue this fall with Asian beetles, and there was some kind of convention of Asian beetles here in the corner of the upstairs on the ceiling, and when I tried to get them out, they left little black spots in that corner, which created some problems. So you'll see that as I put the ceiling paint back on, I'm not really being very fussy about it. I just want to cover my primer and put on a decent amount here. And there's some other little marks there I can see from where I'm at. Now this very corner is going to cause me some problems because I can't roll into that corner. So what I'm going to do here in a minute is, once I get this brushed out as far as I would like, and it's kind of hard to see up here because it's white on white, so I'm going to make sure that I get everything, because I can see a lot easier on this kind of ivory color that's on the wall where I've been. And I can see, if I look real carefully, at the sheen of the paint where it's at on the ceiling. But I think that's almost everything. Anyway, once I've used the brush to cut back into the corner, hard to the corner, I'm going to come back with a 4-inch hand roller and roll it back out. Now, right here in this corner, I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit, and I'm going to dab with my paintbrush to just try to raise the surface, because as I said, I can't get the brush into that, or the roller into that corner hard. But if I can get the same kind of blotted surface that the roller makes, that will disappear as well. Maybe I'll have Jenna do an after shot of this. I know it's not going to show up super well on the camera.
You can see it all right.
Well, once it's touched up, I mean, I don't think it'll show up super well. So I'm going to load up my roller here. Okay, so I got a fair amount of paint there. And I'm just going to roll that back out. And I'll let it scrape on the wall. I'll get as close to the edge as I can, because I'm going to touch the wall back up anyway. So I don't. This really speeds up the process, because I don't have to be picky about that part. Now I do have to be picky about not dropping the roller tray here with all the paint in on the floor. That would be ill-advised. But I spent a great deal of time trying to work out touching these things up in our bathroom upstairs when I had some little fussy things that I wasn't happy with, and I ended up repainting the ceiling probably 4 or 5 times, trying different things, and I kept being able to see where I had painted because the flat paint is very unforgiving with discrepancies, and this ultra white flat paint does not mask super well. So I found that this technique really works incredibly well, and once that dries, it will just disappear, even though it's been applied by hand and not sprayed. So if you're a person who's had issues with that, I would strongly advise you to give this a shot. It really does work. The other thing that I would say, some of you that are watching this video, if you're just random people that happen to find this blog or the website or the YouTube channel, you would know that I worked at a hardware store for a lot of years when I was in high school and in college, and we sold paint there. And so, so I don't think I'm completely illiterate of how paint works and such, but this is the first project I've ever done where I spent what I would consider substantial money on paint, and I have been using Sherwin-Williams products for the entire house, and I will say that I would not use anything else now, having used them. Their coverage and the ease of application, the way that they spread out and the way that they cut back into each other, like if you do a touch-up, it's just super first rate. So if you're out there wondering what kind of paint you should buy for your house, I'm sure there are other good ones out there as well, but Sherwin-Williams has the Peterson Homestead seal of approval. So Sherwin-Williams, if you want to send me, I love free t-shirts, but I won't hold my breath on that. But I will continue to use your product because I think that it's of the utmost quality. This particular product, our local Sherwin-Williams store, which is out of Spencer, Iowa, when I went in and discussed with them, part of what impressed me so much was that the people that I spoke with in the store actually knew their product, which seems to be sort of a dying thing today. We can just hire any person and put them in any retail position, and they're apparently just qualified because they work there and have a shirt. But it was very refreshing to go someplace, be able to talk to somebody about a specialty product, and deal with people who really knew the product, how it worked. They could tell me about what other people are using, homeowners and painting contractors alike. So this specific color is our paint is called CHB, which is it's an ultra flat and super white paint, which I personally like a lot for the ceiling. I don't like the ceiling to be, any kind of a sheen. It seems odd to me. It's not supposed to be a focal point, but it was a slightly less expensive alternative to a conventional ceiling paint, which I would not have known about had the people at the store not mentioned it. So I'm quite thankful for their guidance in that. These little black spots, the only problem with this paint is it does not mask super well. So I will probably, I see there's a little black dot, which I'm sure can't even see there, but
No.
anybody that knows me knows that I'll probably not be able to sleep tonight knowing that's there. So I'll probably have to roll over this one more time, but rest assured, by the time I'm all done, it will be 100% blend it in, and then I can recut my color here, which is called creamy, back into this corner, and the line will be perfectly straight as it should have been the first time. But live and learn, and as I said in an earlier video, I may not know how to do everything, but I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to do it over again if I need to. And so the interesting thing about my experience with these paints also, the wall paint is the Sherwin-Williams Cashmere line of paint, and I've had excellent luck with that cutting back in. So when I do these cut-ins back on the wall, there'll be no need for the roller. The Cashmere paint lies incredibly well and does not really seem to show stippling effects or anything like that I have noticed, at least in my applications of it. So this will be aside from putting a little bit more over that one little black speck of this should be about all of the ceiling touch-up that I need to do, and then I'll be able to sleep at night because I'll know that it's right. See? So anyway, just showing some little things that I've found to be helpful, and hopefully if you have something like this at your own project or home or something that you're not sure quite how to tackle, or maybe you overpainted onto the ceiling and you think, oh, it's going to be so much work to touch that up and I'll never get it to blend in, I would encourage you to try this. I've had really good success with it. If you're really worried about it blending into the ceiling, what you can also do is you can sort of fade the paint out with a roller. If you start with a small amount here at the wall and then just press harder as you work your way out, you can sort of create the stippling and drag it out into the wall and kind of feather the edge where the two blend. And I found that can kind of hide some things also. But, you know, good painting is a mark of craftsmanship, and so I think everybody deserves the right to have the skills to try that and do it in their own home. And keep your eyes out on the web or on the blog. I have a feeling in the very near future we're going to have another posting here where we're going to talk about cutting in to trim, and so that'll probably be the next thing. I think we'll probably even video that tonight, so stay tuned.